Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a process video for you today. This is day 7 of Note to Self from Bythewell4God. This day was written by Lindsay, who I'm sure you all know as Lindsay Decor. I have pulled out her little picture and the flashcards that coordinate with this day, along with this mini file folder that I intend to use. I'm also going to be using the backer page from the mini file folders packaging. This is one of two that I have. I purchased a second one, so I'm actually going to do this with both. I'm going to trim, or I'm really just tearing these down just to give some jagged edge there, and then I'm going to distress the edge of this with some archival ink in ground espresso. I'm also going to distress the edge of the craft paper. I also distressed the edge of Lindsay's picture and also the little file folder. I just did all that off camera because you don't need to see me do that. And then I'm going to glue this down. I'm using some Bearly Arts glue and just applying this on here. I want it to leave a border, so I made sure to tear it down a little bit. And then just to add some interest in kind of a subtle way, I want to use this stencil, particularly because it's the floral one, and for some reason that just made me think of Lindsay. So I'm going to use this on here with some Distress Oxide in tea dye, and making sure that I'm actually going over both the little backer page here and back onto that craft paper, because this Distress Oxide in tea dye ends up looking different on the two different papers. So it just adds some extra interest in there. So because of the oxidization factor of these inks, it just looks a little bit different on the craft paper, and I just really kind of like how that looks. So I'm just randomly doing this. I'm not taking the full image of the stencil, just kind of picking and choosing where I want it. I'm just kind of trying to get this down here into the gutter a little bit. And because of this, the way this ink is, it just is giving off some different shades and values, and it just looks really interesting and adds a little bit of a subtle interest to the background without being overwhelming, like if I were to use something darker like ground espresso or whatever. So I wanted to keep that pretty light in the background, but also having some interest. I'm trying to keep in mind also where I plan on putting some of these bigger elements, and then just kind of stenciling around that. So kind of up in this top right hand corner, because I know that my file folder is going to cover a lot of the bottom section. So, but again, just making sure that I'm going off the page. Also, that helps kind of pull it all together too. So just going to add this in here. I left this part in just so you can kind of see how I'm just randomly picking sections, just little bits, not worried too much about that because a lot of the edges and stuff are going to get covered. So I have my little picture here of Lindsay, and I have these flashcards as well that I'm going to tuck inside my little file folder over here, but I want to make sure to put the one that says trust on the front, because that's the focus of Lindsay's day. That scripture in Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 that says to trust in the Lord with all your heart. And so I want to make sure that this is the focus of this page. And then I want to include a little typewriter. So I'm just kind of trying to choose between those two that came with the ephemera pack in the kit. And I thought I was going to use this little clip. In the end, I end up not using it and going a different way. But I also wanted to add some fabric, like a little fabric ruffle behind Lindsay's picture there. But I realized if I sewed this down, I would be like sewing right through her name. So I decided to, instead, I'm going to make this little ruffle, but I'm going to use Taryn's trick of just kind of creating the ruffle and using my tiny attacher to sort of staple it into place. And then when I glue them together, it will cover the staples, so you can't really see it. So this is just kind of a quick way to do this, since I couldn't really sew down the edge on that side, and I wanted this to be on the left side. I want this teal on the left side of the spread just to kind of balance out the bold blue of the file folder. So I just have that stapled. I'm going to use some, this is Helmar 450 Quick Dry glue. and I'm going to use that. You could use Fabri-Tac or whatever, but I'm just using this to glue this little ruffle down the length of the side here of Lindsay's little character. I love the details that are in all of our little pictures. They are just so cute. So I'm just using these for every day. And I will end up adding some foam tape to that later, but I'm using the bold black and white florals that were an add-on that you could get for this kit. I really love these a lot. I love the look of them. And so I just kind of really like how big and bold they are. So I'm going to add these in a couple places around my page. But what I first do is add some more of that ground espresso distress oxide ink. I really love how it just makes them pop out more. And so I distressed around the edge of that, distressed around the edge of the typewriter as well. And I will really end up distressing around the edge of all of the elements using that same ground espresso archival ink. So I'm going to glue this down over here in the bottom left-hand corner, right behind where Lindsay's little picture here is going to go. And this is where I think I add the foam tape. This foam tape, you can get, different widths and whatever. This I actually got at the Dollar Tree, which I thought was pretty cool. And it came with 3 different widths. So I'm just adding this around the 3 sides, kind of just to help balance out where that extra dimension from that adding that ruffle is, and it will just help that a little bit. So it's going to kind of go over there in that bottom left corner. I'm going to add my my ephemera piece here. I'm going to use the Barely Arts Precision Glue again, and I'm just going to kind of tuck this in the corner. I'm trying to keep most of the image on there. It's going to hang off just a little bit, which is fine. I'm going to trim off the bottom of that here in a little bit, and then I will put Lindsay over the top of that. And then in this this big huge floral, I want to spread kind of over the span of these 2 pages. I'm going to put it right in the middle, but whenever you have a book like this, these ephemera pieces are pretty thick, and so I'm going to need to kind of cut it up a little bit. So going ahead and just marking where I want to trim off this top section, and I did that so I could save that whole piece and reuse it. And then I added a little more distress ink there, or archival ink, and then I'm going to mark right where the gutter of this is going to be, and I'm going to cut my ephemera piece in half. That way it's not going to prevent my book from folding or from closing. I won't have to worry about that piece cracking or anything like that. So I'm just going to apply these pieces as close to the gutter as I just possibly can. There will be just ever so slightly of a little space there, but this is really just going to help the functionality of my book. And it's really not that noticeable, especially as the book fills up. It'll kind of push those pages a little bit closer together, and you won't really even be able to see it. I just wanted to make sure that it was lined up really well. And then I'm gluing down my file folder. I'm just using the 3 sides of this though, because I want to keep this as a pocket. I also glued down the right side to kind of make this more like a tuck spot so my little flashcards and stuff won't fall out. And then I am going to glue down this flashcard, but I wanted to add the little like note page look to it. And so I'm using my We Are Memory Keepers punch board. This is from the planner one, and it has different attachments that you can do that get you like a spiral binding or different like a disc bound system as well. So I'm just using this one to kind of create this look that this was torn out of a notebook. I had seen Lindsay do this, and I had forgotten, in fact, that I had this punch. And she did this a while back, and so it just reminded me. So a lot of these little elements that I have on here are kind of an ode to Lindsay and the things that, how she inspires us more than in just her devotional writing. So, and that also is why I have this little typewriter too. So, anyway, that was probably more information than you needed, but that's really just kind of the way my brain works. And so the florals just said Lindsay to me, and so they just felt like they needed to go on there. So anyway, I'm trimming along the bottom here, adding a little bit more distress ink just to add to the edge so it's, consistent across there. And then that little piece that I trimmed down, I'm going to glue over here on the right, because there's no point in just, wasting it. I can just add it as another little element so it looks like it's coming out from behind my little file folder. And just kind of gluing everything down now. There's her picture I still need to do, and then so I'm just going to pull off the backer, the release paper off of those little foam strips and put that down there. And then off camera, I went ahead and wrote out all of my scriptures in my notes. I also did the title on one of the labels with the alpha stickers. So I'm going to tuck one of the journaling cards back behind the file folder, and then I have the flashcards and another tag with some notes in the pocket of that file folder. And then I'm going to put my title down. I want to leave this kind of just hanging off the edge of the page. And then I'm going to save that little piece because I can always use that as like a layering piece on another page. And then everything here is pretty well finished. I did need to add a little bit more distress there. And then my little file folder is kind of opening up. So I decided I want to just add another little one of these paper clips. These are from Felicity Jane. I've just had them in my stash a while. And that just kind of makes that pocket, makes the file folder, stay nice and secure. So that does it for me for this day. If you liked this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until next time, bye.